and the week's worth of work, and now I have a life-size Gawr to add to my Papercraft figure collection. And overall, she came out relatively fine. I'm very happy with how well this low poly model actually ended up coming out when it comes to being upscaled to life size. This model is only meant to be maybe like 6 inches to maybe a foot tall. And normally I don't like to build these low poly models because generally when you upscale them to life size like I did with Gawr here, they generally look a little hideous or just don't look 100% right. Gawr though, she again came out relatively fine and I'm very impressed. I would like to have a little bit more details in certain areas and whatnot, like the face, the arms, and especially the hands, because you can definitely tell they're blocky and whatnot. But again, for a low poly model to be converted over to life size, it came out relatively fine. With that said, Gawr is very small. She's not as small as I initially thought, but she is small nonetheless. With that said, I can bring that size into comparison with another figurine I've built in the past. Since I'm a very skilled man of culture, I also have built a life-size Comey. And as you can see, Gawr next to Comey, Gawr very small. With that said, you can also see what I mean by a low poly model is not always upscaling properly. I mean, Comey, she looks fine, but Gawr, let's be honest, just looks far more better. And again, generally speaking, both models are very low poly and they're never really meant to be life size. You can really see the fact that Comey here was never meant to be life size by the hands right here. There's only so much you can do with these low poly models when you convert them to life size. But again, I absolutely absolutely love how Comey came out, just like with how well Gawr came out. But if I had to choose when it comes to generally which one looks better, I have to give it to Gawr because Gawr just looks so much better. But like I said, I am a man of culture and I do have a life-size Comey, and I'm very happy with that. So with that said, I do tend to take these things to my local anime convention, so let me move Comey out of the way and show you what I do with these figures. So like I said, I like to take these to my local anime convention, and this goes for all the figures I built, from Comey to Gawr to some of the other ones I got, including these ones right here. I need to be able to dismantle these things in a way to make them even more smaller, that way so that they can fit in the car I go to my local anime conventions with. So Gawr here is a little interesting out of the normal figures I built. Normally when it comes to these figures, let's take Comey here for instance. Normally I just had them split like this, to where top half and then bottom half. With Comey it's top half, skirt, then the legs. With Gawr here, it's a little different. Her arms held on by magnets. Her little purse, give me a second to unclasp it. This little purse here is held on by a magnet that corresponds inside the skirt. I'll show that in a little bit. Then I pull this up. Try not bend the paper. Hold her down by her base. Grab her by the neck. And lift up. And of course, here's her skirt. Skirt pops off. And then we got the legs. Also, we gotta take her tail off. So when it comes to her tail, pops off just like that. It's held on by a few rare magnets. And just like that, Gawr has now been taken apart, and I can now more easily transport her in whatever car I decide to choose to use to take her to the convention and whatnot. And here you can see the internal structure I've set up for at least the leg for Gawr. wooden popsicle sticks and and wooden dowels and this little PVC pipe right here that corresponds to the upper body right there. And generally speaking, this simple design that I've been building now for 5, 6 something years now, or maybe 7. I don't know how long I've been building these models, but that simple design that went into Gawr, Komi, and all the other figures, it works completely fine. I've only had one figure collapse on me, and I think that was like the second or third ever life-size figure I built. So I'm very happy that I've gotten my skill to a point now to where I know that when I build these things, they ain't going to collapse on me. So with that said, time to put it back together in real time. So it starts off with her tail. So like I mentioned, her tail here is held on by 2 rare earth magnets. They're fairly big. There are 2 rare earth magnets in the sheet of foam that also correspond to the magnets on the tail, and that's what holds the tail in place to stop the tail from going inside the body and whatnot. I actually have a little stop brace right there, and that stops the tail from going too far into the body and whatnot. The skirt just simply pops right on. Then I do this with the upper portion, line it up with the PVC pipe, drop it down, put a little pressure so she's fully seated. She's fully seated. And then I take the purse here, wrap the purse, lock it to the magnet. Then I have this little popsicle stick covered in black to hide it, and I wrap the little latch right here, or a little lease, whatever we call this, onto that. It makes this piece taut, makes it look very nice. And then the next step is to attach the arms. Add these little pegs right here that correspond to holes right here in the body. Just go like this, and just like with the tail, the arms here have a magnet inside the top right here that corresponds with a magnet inside the body, and latches. And of course, take the left arm right here, and I do the same thing here too. Pop it into the hole, and it latches. And just like that, Gawr is now fully back and ready to go. So with that said, I don't know what else to talk about, because again, these figures are fairly basic in the long run. I just want to show it off. Also, let's be honest, I wanted to get noticed by Gawr. So why not get noticed by her, or at least try to, by building a life-size Papercraft Gawr. Hopefully I got her attention. If I did, hey Gawr. So with that said, I do plan on at least building 2 more HoloLive members. Give me a second. These are 2 HoloLive girls I'm wanting to build next. I was actually initially starting to build her right here. I'm not going to try and pronounce her names. I don't know how to properly pronounce them. So if these 2 end up watching this video, I'm sorry. I have no idea how to pronounce their names. But again, I was actually initially building her, but I scratched my cornea, and that knocked me out for about a week or so. And since that knocked me out and I was in the process of building her, I was like, okay, I want to start off with something small, so why not build another HoloLive member I like? And of course, that's why I have a life-size Gawr now. As you can see, here's her shoe. As you can also see, there's a bunch of wooden popsicle sticks and a bunch of hot glue just to make sure just this little bit of her shoe maintains its shape and whatnot. Because as I'm building these models, this also goes for Gawr, I have to make sure that the feet and whatnot can actually support the weight that they're going to be holding as I build these things. Because in the grand scheme of things, these things weigh no more than 15 pounds. But for hot glue, wooden popsicle sticks, and wooden dowel rod to be able to support that type of weight is basically an engineering feat, because when I'm building these things, I have to literally be an engineer at this. Now, of course, like I said, I built these things in the past, so I already know what I'm doing, but I basically build these things as a building. I have to make sure as I'm building them up that everything's properly reinforced. I have to make sure everything's where it needs to be. That way, so all the forces get properly pushed into the feet/shoes instead of just being place willy-nilly and having them just eventually break apart and whatnot. Again, I've had one of these figures break apart in the past, but that was like maybe 7 years ago. So I've gotten really, really good at building these figures. And for those that are wondering how long it actually takes to build one of these figures or what normally takes the longest, it's usually the feet and the legs because those have to support all the weight. Once I get those done, generally the upper torso and whatnot goes by really fast. But again, the time that it takes just to get these legs, to get the legs and the feet and whatnot to be able to properly support the weight is what takes the longest. But with that also said, if I was given the option to build a HoloLive member that I currently do not have planned building right now, I want to build a life-size Muna. I've always liked Muna. I don't know why I like her. I just like her, and I've always wanted to build a life-size Muna. But as it currently stands right now, I really can't find a 3D model of her that I could actually use. There are 3D models of Muna out there, but they're crazy, crazy detailed. There's a certain amount of detail I can go for. Of course, Gawr is a more simplistic model, so she's very easy to build. The highest complexity I can go to are my Macross characters. For instance, Shirley here. As you can see, the amount of folds in Shirley is far more intricate than Gawr ever will be, or at least the model I currently have of Gawr. Shirley here is about, I want to say, 2, maybe 3 months of work. And of course, that's because, again, she's very intricate, and the pose she has is, again, very intricate. The more simpler models of the cross characters I own, like or made, Freya, for instance, she's about a month. Min-Mei in the back, another month. Congo here, well, Congo herself is again about a month or so. She actually has an RC base she sits on that I take to conventions and whatnot, but she's an ongoing and I'm actually planning on rebuilding her. Cortana here, she's about maybe another month, give or take. And again, this little Cortana model, she's actually about the scale I actually want to have for details, but obviously you can see the face here, it didn't really come out that good. Because just like I said with Gawr, some of these models are not really meant to be life size. And unfortunately, Cortana here, when it comes to the face, it really, really shows and it freaking sucks. Because this is the Halo 4 Cortana, and of all the Cortanas, this one's the best one. I don't care what anyone else says. Halo 4 Cortana is the best Cortana. But with that said, I don't know what else I'll talk about, so I'll just wrap it up. Don't know how to really close this video out, but again, I'm very happy with how well my life-size Gawr came out. And I'm happy it actually only took about a week or so to build because, again, normally the more higher end models or higher poly count models, like again with the Macross characters I showed off a little bit ago, those ones can take at least a month to build, if not longer. And it really takes it out of me when I'm building these characters. So having one so small and be relatively quick and painless to build is a breath of fresh air. Again, I like building those more complex models, but they take so long to build. So like I said, it's really nice to have something that's a lot more easier to work with. So I guess I'll just end the video here because I don't know what else to talk about.